Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I greatly appreciate your comments regarding the value of the push to make HUD more efficient and more effective. It's absolutely crucial in a time in which we are spending 42 cents of every taxpayer dollar on debt service alone, and in which we have an over 9% unemployment rate that we're finding difficult to overcome. You also extolled the value of private funding as instilling discipline in these marketplaces, and I think that's so important to recognize that we should, I would submit to you, minimize federal involvement in the housing and mortgage marketplace to the extent that we can and keep it to the neediest. I have an example of why that's so important from my own home county, which is Westchester County, New York. We are struggling under the burden of a community development block grant agreement that was made under a previous county executive's administration from HUD. And it has been very, very difficult to try to comply with the terms of that grant because they simply don't make sense in our county. It was not this county executive's error, but we are now living with the consequences, which points up again the exceedingly difficult challenge of having the federal government involved in local marketplaces. But they've had to hire a consultant to help, at HUD's discretion, if you will, to help sort out this mess. And I wonder if you might hazard a guess as to how much that consultant is charging per hour. Apparently a fee set by, a figure set by HUD. What you might consider a reasonable fee, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but what you might consider a reasonable sum per hour to consult and help our county get out of this predicament.
Congresswoman, let me make sure if I'm clear. This was a court case that was brought against the county. There was a court-appointed master, essentially, that was put in place to implement the decision of the court. Is that
it's
the
very difficult? Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
I would have to say I'm not sure what the court-appointed monitor was charging.
It's over $900 an hour that the taxpayers of Westchester County, New York, are now paying. Sorely pressed taxpayers. We're losing businesses and unfortunately to neighboring states and other states because the tax structure in Westchester County, although it's a wonderful county in so many ways, is rather difficult to cope with. So I wonder if you might, as our secretary, see if you could possibly help mitigate some of that burden. If that sounds at all like that might be a rather exorbitant amount for the county to be dispersing merely to have some sort of regulator, if you will, in place, I'd be most grateful on behalf of Westchester County, New York.
Congresswoman, this is an issue that I know has been a lot of focus in the county. Under the prior county executive, there was this court case brought independently against the county for not complying with their required fair housing obligations. The court did make a determination. I will say that we've been somewhat concerned that under the new county executive, for example, he vetoed a piece of legislation that the county legislature passed and was required by the settlement. And there are a number of other steps that have been taken that I think have caused this to go on longer than anyone would have liked. And certainly we're very interested in trying to resolve it. We've offered technical assistance from the agency so that we could minimize any costs to the taxpayer to the local taxpayers in terms of working this through. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to get compliance with the ruling at this point. And again, this is not HUD's decision. That was a court that imposed this decision, and we'd like nothing more than to get to a resolution, which is, frankly, to build a certain number of units in the county on sites that I think we have been able to work with the county effectively to try to identify. So we'll do everything we can to accelerate it and make sure it gets resolved as
much appreciated, sir. There's been a tremendous amount of difficulty finding appropriate sites within the county, and sites that would make sense actually for those who would indeed inhabit these new homes. It's very difficult to connect them with job opportunities. You know, this is almost part of a spiral in which, you know, we have a heavy tax structure. Federal taxes certainly play into that. HUD is part of our federal tax burden. And, you know, because of that, we don't have the jobs climate that we should. And, of course, the best way to afford a home and to afford a private rental or mortgage is to have a job. So, again, I laud your emphasis on streamlining what HUD does so that we can relieve these burdens from places like Westchester County, where it's, you know, starkly in evidence that a federal mechanism can be very difficult to layer on top of a local community.
Yes,
So thank you. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you.